You're listening to This Naked Mind with Annie Grace.
Hi, this is Annie Grace, and welcome to This Naked Mind podcast. And I'm here with Lee. Hi, Lee. How are you?
Hi, Annie. I'm fine. Thanks.
So good to be here with you. So thank you so much
Yeah,
for
you
coming
too.
on. Let's go all the way back to the beginning in your relationship with alcohol. Where did it start for you?
Well, dear me. I mean, growing up in the northeast of England, it's very much a drinking culture kind of society. And it's bred into you, man. So from 13, 14-year-old, it was always kind of whoever's mum and dad was out, let's go and empty the drinks cabinet. And the idea being just get up your nut, you know. And that's where it started. And it just didn't stop. So I went from kind of being a casual social drinker to drinking lots and lots and lots and more and more and more. And unbeknown to me, I was drinking to hide or to mask all mental health conditions. So I was just self-medicating. I was just going down off me nut with what is possibly acceptable way of dealing with things. Get drunk. Everybody does it. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I was with alcohol.
Yeah. And so was that like as soon as sort of, I don't know, high school, college, or was it? Yeah.
About 13, 14, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
13, 14. And everybody was doing it. So it was like just a very typical thing for the 13-year-olds to be getting drunk regularly.
Yeah, it still is. I mean,
Yeah.
you see them now wandering into the park with the bottles of beer. You see them standing outside the corner shop asking people to go in and kind of buy them booze. Can you go in and get me some? Can you get us 12 cans of Stella? Can you get us 3 bottles of wine? So it is very much kind of northeast of England culture. It's
Mhm.
just what kids do, you know, and still do, sadly.
And is it sort of like just normalized by the adults too? Like the adults are like, oh yeah, I remember that kind of fondly looking back at it, or is it the adults are
Very
horrified?
much so until it gets to the point where their kid's off the map, and then all of
Mm,
a sudden it gets real. But it,
mm.
it does kind of get like jollied along, you know.
Yeah, jollied along. That's a good word for it. All right, so
Yeah,
you're
it is.
13, 14, and you're just doing what everybody else is doing, but you have this underlying sort of mental health condition that you probably don't even know about at that point in time. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I finally got diagnosed some 12 years ago after another failed suicide attempt, which had seen me dead 3 times and brought back to life and in a coma for 3 weeks and that kind of thing. And it was after that when I was kind of an enforced patient on a hospital ward that I started to get some kind of treatment for my mental health. And that's where I got my diagnosis of bipolar type 2, which now will rapid cycles with underlying chronic depression. So for the most part, I just didn't want to be in my head. All my life, I hadn't wanted to be in my head because I had this ongoing battle with myself that I just wasn't comfortable with. Do you know what I mean? So the easiest way to remedy that was just get off your nut. And that's what I did.
And did it help? Did it provide relief?
Yeah, yes and no. At the time, you thought it did. And then the beer anxiety the day after, and then the next 2 days making up the relationships that you'd broke up and apologizing to people and oh my God, did I really do that? And having to square up with your mates because you'd borrowed an extra 50 quid because you went night clubbing, all that kind of thing was like it just wasn't worth it, man. But for a
Mm.
short-term fix at the time, every time when I go out to work, I was like, right, I've just got to go. That's it. I'm away. I've just got to go and get off me nut. And at the time, I thought it was helping, but obviously it wasn't in the long run now.
And you just consciously think that I actually remember that in my life. I called it like get obliterated. I was like, I just intentionally just want to shut down. And I'm like, I just want to, yeah, like intentionally. I was just trying to not be conscious, still be conscious, like not asleep, but just not, I obliviate. That was the word I used. I wanted to
Yeah,
obliviate.
it's kind of you want to download your hard drive, don't you? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You want to pull the wire out and just let it all go, man.
Yeah.
And whenever I went out, even if I was just going to the local for the quiz with my mum and my dad, it wasn't a couple of pints. I would be drinking till I got chucked out. I'd run out of money, or the nightclub would stop serving me in the town. And then 3 or 4 hours later, I'm on my way to work, and I'm just trying to kind of live through it again, you know. So it was savage, like it was savage.
Mhm. And
I
then
hope you can understand me northeast accent, by the way.
I can understand it. I think it's great. I love it. Getting off your nut is getting really wasted, for anybody who doesn't know that. I lived in London for a few periods of time over the years, so I got very familiar with lots of accents, and I love it. But I think it's great. So this time, this very savage time of like, what was this feeling like inside of you? I mean, obviously, you said multiple suicide attempts, so you're just going to a darker and darker place.
Yeah, just complete and utter torment till it got to the point at which I just didn't want to be on this planet anymore. I was like, I can't take any more of this. Like, this is just, I've had enough. And me as a person, I feel like I've got the right to flick the light switch should I choose. And all I thought I was doing was just exercising my God-given right to exit from stage left at a point that I saw convenient.
And can you recall during those periods of time, like any of the dominating thoughts or pervasive thoughts that were in your mind? Like, what was the voice saying?
Just not wanting to be here at all. It was just, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. I just want out. I want the pain to stop, really. That was kind of the message I kept repeating to myself. I just want all of this pain to stop. And as a psychiatrist, it said to a good friend of mine, that said to her, do you really want this life to stop, or do you just want this situation to stop? Ask yourself that every time you get to the bridge and you're thinking of throwing yourself off. Think, do I really want my life to stop, or do I just want this situation and this set of circumstances to kind of leave me alone? And then change your mindset, change your judgment, and move on from that. And those words were so wise, like, but obviously came too late for me because, yeah.
Those are very wise words, very powerful, to consider, to be
Yeah,
able to
yeah.
this moment of just terror from the whole of life when they're so intertwined in that moment.
Mm-hmm. And it very much I'm an engineer by trade. That's what I used to do. I was Nissan's European electrical expert, so I was achieving very, very highly on a professional level. But that came at a price, and that price was just losing myself in alcohol night after night after night because the pressure of the job was just too much, man. And I just couldn't take it, couldn't stand it. It was too much. So once because the point of us saying I was an engineer is because the way that This Naked Mind is written, for me, it's all fact, it's all science based, and it puts a whole new perspective on alcohol, or at least it did for me. And once you explained the cognitive dissonance argument, once I'd got that equation through my head, I was like, geez, this makes so much sense. It was just such a penny drop. It wasn't a penny, it was a pound coin drop moment. It was like, Jesus, why can't people see that? Why can't people see that? Oh man, how you work that out, my lady, is just unbelievable. So powerful.
There's just endless curiosity about the state of my own mind. And I'm endlessly curious
Really?
about the state of other people's minds too. I'm so curious, and you let me know if I get too intrusive with questions, but I'd love to understand
No.
bipolar. And you said bipolar 2 with underlying depressive disorder. Is that what you said the diagnosis was?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how
But
does that feel?
one of the reasons why I used to drink to get off me nut was because I wanted to throw myself in any way, shape, or form into a manic episode. because the state of mania is absolutely unreal. It's I'm not a shy man. I've tried plenty of drugs. Nothing at all compares. Cocaine, forget it. Nothing compares to bipolar mania. When you're up there, you are literally invincible. So I used to use alcohol as a means to try and attain that, to get myself up to that level, to get myself manic. Because once I was manic, I could run through brick walls. You know, I mean, I'd got myself manic for 3 years. I managed to do a master's degree, which should have been a 5 year degree. I was working full time. I had 2 young kids, and I managed to do a master's degree by being manic for 3 years, by being completely off me nut for 3 years. Cut 2 years out just by not sleeping, just by being up there. But the come down, when that manic phase ends, dear me, the low is, it's not a low, like it's lower than that. It's like kind of below ground level, you know. It's awful, horrible.
And you can't access any hope. Like you can't even imagine that person. It's like being two different people at the same time.
Oh, multiple different people. Multiple different people. Yeah. In fact, he's a tip for you. I don't know if you look up a guy on the internet on YouTube, right? And you've got to look up Hiren, Hiren, right? You watch that video of Hiren. He absolutely nails it, completely and utterly. So get that watched seriously, and watching that video, you will sit back and you'll be like, people live with that? The answer is yes. Alcohol was my way out of that, you know.
Wow. This neural basis of bipolar disorder by Hiren
Hiren had he's many kinds.
I'm just gonna find it.
But bipolar's in there too.
I'd love to.
Hiren, and the video that you want really is the one where he's been wheeled in a wheelchair into the center of a room that looks like it's like an asylum. There's a light flickering in the background, and
it's a music video.
He's in his it's a music video. Yeah.
And then I'll link
that. That guy is unreal.
Wow. So he just articulates it so well, the experience.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Wow.
I don't know if you can hear the rain. I apologize for that.
Oh no, I can't hear it. I can't hear it at all. So in your experience, when you got this diagnosis, what prompted that? What prompted you to seek help? And I mean, is it even mental health? It feels like, I remember having a very early days podcast interview with a man who was from where you're from, that part of the UK. And he said, everyone in his life was of the opinion, you've got a body, punish it. This is your job as a man. And so like this idea of like mental health in that culture, I'm just curious, is it changing? Is it becoming something that's talked about? And at what point was it like, wait, maybe there's something else going on here?
Yeah, how it came to be that I got a diagnosis, like I'd said, I'd had an overdose, I'd been dead a couple of times. I was in intensive care for 3 weeks. I was in a coma for 3 weeks. So that's what led the shrinks to kind of come to me. And it was from that process that I got my diagnosis. But mental health as a topic is now very much becoming something that's on the table in the UK. Right. Now, I had to take early ill health retirement in 2019 because the state of my mind, I hadn't been functioning for the best part of 2 years. And I'd been in bed, and I just wasn't functioning as a human being anymore. And when I left work, I kind of shared with everybody the reason why I was leaving by email, let everyone know that I was suffering from mental health problems, and I put some links into Mind and other organizations, and that went down bittersweet. Some people who I thought at work, who'd been colleagues for 28, 30 years, all of a sudden turned on me, man. They turned on me because to them, it was like, he is the first guy coming in with the new bad back. Mental health. There you go. It's the new bad back. And that's what it was kind of taken as, to be honest. But to me, I'm thinking, no, 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 no. Really, I really hope you don't get affected by it. But it's certainly not just a new back. It's so much more than that, man. And I think one thing that COVID did, when COVID brought along all of the restrictions, where you couldn't go out the house, where you couldn't do this, you couldn't meet for a pint, you couldn't do all of those things, it put restrictions around people and got people who'd never ever felt in any form of mental torment previously. Those shackles and those chains hunted them down. And some people that I thought were always like way above ever being mentally ill, they got brought down with it, man. And COVID did do mental health awareness a big, big favour, I think, which is a bit bizarre, but and a little bit off topic from where we are. Yeah.
No, I think it's so important. And I mean, of course, like alcohol during COVID, I was frequently on television shows via Zoom to talk about the increase that we were seeing in just enrollments for our even free alcohol experiment. How many people, it was at first, when it first shut down, it was like crickets. Like nobody wanted to be talking about their relationship with alcohol, because it just felt like, look, we're just going to brush that under the rug. And at least if we have to be home, we're going to be home with our mom. And then as soon as a month or two of that, just no guardrails, right? Because that was one of the things that COVID did is if you're at home by yourself and you're drinking, all of a sudden, there's no reason to wait to the end of the day to have a drink, right? There's no reason not to have three or four before noon. And so all those guardrails that were kind of keeping the monster at bay, so to speak, were gone. And very quickly, it turned into more enrollments than ever before, because people were like, whoa, this thing I was using to escape, it just isn't working. It's just not actually working. Yeah. And they didn't know how to get unstuck.
And so, it was the going through COVID thing, the Zoom parties with your friends. Yeah. That's when really it got a hold of me. That's when I was going to the corner shop and you could get 3 bottles of red wine for a tenner, which is about $12. So you can probably guess the quality of the wine, but it was still 12.5% proof. So I was doing 3 bottles of wine a night while I was talking to my pals on Zoom. I was doing LCL lager, which is 11%. So I'd have 8 of those as my go-to before the kind of Zoom parties that were going on. Do you know what I mean? It was, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. The barriers were removed, weren't they? All of a sudden, you didn't have to be sober to drive to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. That wasn't even a thing anymore.
Wow. We have in the US, it's called $2 Chuck, $2 bottles of red wine, or maybe they have it in white wine too. I only drink the red, but same thing, $2 a bottle.
Oh, man.
Total crap.
Years ago, that would have sent me, right, I want to go to America.
So in your journey, you got this diagnosis 12 years ago, and I have to imagine to let go of the manic episodes as you've described it. Was it quite tragic, or how did you manage that best drug being gone, or were the lows so low that you had, I don't know, you use your words.
I wouldn't say I managed particularly well. Tick just followed talk, and the clock turned around to the point at which I could get drunk again, and then rinse and repeat, and go to work and try and live in this constant battle of your head trying to be in so many different places at once. It was like the wall of like kind of white noise chaos inside the mind was just like unbelievable, man. It's just, imagine, when your television goes off and it goes all dead pixelated and there's dots all over the place. That was just what I was trying to look at life through. I was trying to look at life through that lens. That was just so, do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, for no apparent reason, mania would kick in. I'd have flashes of inspiration, which were tremendous, to be honest, because they didn't have the normal confines and rules and boundaries around them that the normal thinkers have, do you know what I mean? Which really helped me with things like songwriting and all that kind of stuff, because I didn't have any barriers. I didn't have any. The rules were, there ain't no rules, like, and when you're trying to express yourself freely through words or music, that's just like wow, do you know what I mean? When you haven't got the constraints of formality to go through, it's just unbelievable. Hence the reason
And
why I just wanted to try and bring on more mania time after
yeah,
time.
it sounds like in that state of mind, you had no fear.
No, no, no. I did. I mean,
Gosh.
stupid things. I went out on a Friday night. I met my friend at 6:30 on a Friday night before we'd even had a pint, right? I'd bought his wife's takeaway coffee, right? So it just came over as, all right, right, that's a good idea. I'll buy it for the family. I'll set a family business up. I went home because I had a really good job at Nissan. I could get interest-free credit, like up to ridiculous limits. So I just hooked myself up interest-free credit cards. By dinner time the following day, she had tens of thousands of pounds transferred into her bank. And on Monday, I had a set of keys for a business that I had no idea how to run. That's the kind of where mania takes you. Do you know
So
what I mean?
you literally went
It
from
it it that was
to a friend to owning the business over a
yeah
weekend.
over a weekend. The money was
Wow.
in our bank by 12 o'clock the following day.
Wow. Just because you're like, this is the thing we're doing right now.
Yeah, yeah. The same with motorbikes. Do you know what I mean? Just like interest-free credit cards, no problem. Buy on PayPal. Next thing you know, there's a bike being shipped up to your address. The worrying thing of having no limits is there's no limits. So
Mhm.
whatever you can get yourself into, you will. And I on top of that, DMA, that was like a dangerous, dangerous combination. Exciting, don't get me wrong. Very exciting, but what a ride.
And were you medicated at all at this point? Like, pharmaceutically medicated for
Yes, but the story of medication and psychiatrists has just gone kind of try a new med, okay for a couple of months. You just start to go, your body gets used to it, you go awry, you go off the map, you go back to see your shrink changes your meds, you start again, you have a month and a half of feeling absolutely useless, can't get out of bed, then the med will work a little bit, and then do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how it's been for the last 12 years, like rinse and repeat. Meds have got the place, but they're not the answer. Is that and through this naked mind and getting me head the cognitive dissonance equation kind of taught me that really all of the power is in there. You just need to work out how to use it. The answers are there. You need to work out how to use it, how to think your way through life instead of getting off your nut through life. Do you know what I mean? And it just brought it all home to us. It was just and I can't see so many of my friends, well, all now we're 50s, 60s now, and they've done very well for themselves. The company directors, they've got their own companies. They're very high up in whatever service they've gone into, and they still go and get off the nut on a Friday and a Saturday night. And I'm like, I'll be with them, I'll go with them, but I'm the guy that sends them the video at 7:30 on a Monday morning of the way they presented, lying on the floor covered in sick at 2 on a Sunday morning, and say, is that how you want to see customers? Is that how you want to see your boss see you? Really? Because to the rest of the world, at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning, my mate, that's what you looked like. That's you that was lying on the floor. That's you that's covered in sick. Get a grip, man. I can't understand how such clever, clever lads, they've missed it. The way that you sell it in this naked mind, the way you unwrap it and the way that you get your story across is so, so powerful. I'm like, please, just read the book. If you've got seriously, just read that book and come back to me and then tell us I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But they're all in denial. They're all in denial. It's so instilled in the drinking culture of the north of England is so inbred. They just can't see the wood for the trees, man. They don't want to see the wood for the trees. You know what I mean? It's sad. But I have had good friends of mine hitting me up on the offer of the book, and in particular, who really, really struggled with our mental health and her year ago. She's in her late 40s now, and she got a job for the first time in her life because with the help of this naked mind, she got herself off alcohol, she got herself straight, she got a mind in a place where it had never ever been before, and she got herself a job. And now she suffers terribly with mental health problems, but she puts that to good use because she's now a peer support worker working in a hospital with patients with severe mental health problems. And like, wow, that is like, I just take my hat off to Janine and think, wow, you're an absolute star. See all the good that's happened from you not drinking. And that was just a chance conversation at work. We're out the weekend. You have a good weekend, Lee? Oh, I did sober one, another sober one. What do you mean? A sober one? Oh, I haven't drank now for about 3 weeks. Get away. No one could believe I was the consummate pisshead, pardon my French, right? Nobody can believe that me, of all people, has packed the beer in. And they're all waiting for me to fall off the horse. They're waiting. I can see them lining up just to laugh and point. Ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen, guys. Look elsewhere for your entertainment. It ain't coming from the big fat bald man.
Wow. Oh, it's such a cool story. And how did you find the book?
The story went something like this. I'd been out for my birthday and it was 1184 days ago. That's how many days I'm sober. So it was the 22nd of July. I'd gone out for my birthday with a good friend of mine who I think a lot of. He's a bright lad and he's a good kid, like. And I don't see him that often, to be honest. We were in the last pub and he said, do you know in the last three pubs, you've drank three to my one? So my stock reply was, well, it's not my fault you're a shit drinker, is it? Do you know what I mean? He said, no, you're not getting this, layman. He said, right, last pub, you were drinking that scrumpy. What was that, 12%? Yeah. And then the real ales? Yeah. What were they, 7, 8%? Probably, yeah. Something like that. I'm drinking Mickey Mouse Foster's 3.5%. You want to have a think about how much alcohol you're putting away, mate. And because he's a good mate and I think a lot of him, I like a couple of days later, I was internet scrolling, kind of couldn't get to sleep 2 o'clock in the morning, as you do, playing about on YouTube. And I came across that beautiful face that's staring back at me now. And I was like, wow, she talks a lot of sense. Right, I'm going to have a go at this. So the following day, I wakes up to an email in my box. Congratulations, you've enrolled on the alcohol experiment, 30 days without. And I was like, oh, what did I sign up to last night? Oh my God. So then I kind of, right, hokey doke, go with it. So I kind of stuck with it. But every day, those emails, the video clips where you're talking to a dietitian, psychiatrist, psychologist, a GP, where you were talking to people who were talking such sense. It was like penny drop after penny drop. And it was like, wow, this lady really, really has gone to town on this. She's worked her magic, like. And at the end of the 30 days, I just wanted to see how far I could go. I wanted to see how long I could make it last. And the more I thought about it, the more the cognitive dissonance equation kind of became hard and fast in my DNA. And that was my kind of, I ain't stepping over that line anymore, man. No way.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it happened. I'm still here. 1184 days later with a cup of coffee.
I love that. That's amazing. And you said when we got on, you're in your shed in your back garden, hiding from 7 grandkids. Is that right?
Yeah, 7 kids in the house at the moment. I don't know how many's there now, but there's worse problems in the world to have than 7 grandkids. But
I love
trust me, 7 at
Mm.
once is just like, oh man, because the ages are from 5 to 11. So what keeps a 5-year-old happy ain't keeping a 7-year-old happy, certainly not keeping a 9-year-old happy. And the 11, by the time they reach 11, they just don't want to know, do they? That's it. You haven't got the cool badge anymore. You're just out of here. So it's like, yeah.
Well, I just can't help but thinking what an important influence you're going to be on their lives in this way, just by having made this shift for yourself. Just you talk about breaking generational patterns, and of course not everybody is going to it won't be perfect, but I can't imagine what a big difference it's really going to make.
I really, really hope so. And I hope they can kind of see me as a role model and someone to follow. I see that as my kind of my purpose. Since when I had to take my early health retirement because I was bust in 2019, I started work for Sunderland University, and it was my CPN that got me the job for Sunderland University, and it was working as a practice patient, yeah, for the med school students to practice on, and that was absolutely tremendous. Like, I loved that, and because I was like getting out of the house and going to do something for once, I kind of got myself into what's called a recovery college. And the recovery college ran a whole load of different courses to try and get people back on the horse who kind of lost the way. And after a couple of years of doing the courses, I decided, you know what, I need to put a little bit back. And music's very much my passion. So now for the recovery college, I run music courses which help people who've had their own kind of mental traumas that they've gone through, or people who's got learning disabilities, or people who's just had a difficult life. And I feel like I put my lens and my experience to good use by helping people as they're going through their rough patch, you know. And it's that is so rewarding, man. It's voluntary. You couldn't pay me to do it because my students don't walk out of there on a Thursday, they fly, man. Every one of them is flying. And it's my whole perspective on life has changed so much since the alcohol's gone, the bad habits have gone, the traits are kind of on the downside. And I just see myself as kind of wanting to help others, you know. And if I can help others by keeping them away from the alcohol as well, wow, that's a big, big win, massive win.
That's just amazing. So cool. This has been great. Like so insightful. I so appreciate you being so candid with your story and your journey, because yeah, it's amazing. And from a mental health perspective, cutting out the alcohol sounds like, and you tell me, but it sounds like it's been really pivotal in managing the diagnosis.
It has, in as much as I don't have the following day regrets, I don't have the financial problems it was bringing me. It does kind of leave me a little bit like I don't have that instant download, whereas 3 bottles of red in half an hour would kind of, that'd be a quick fix, man. Well, for 20 minutes at least. Do you know what I mean? So, but to be honest, I so much will take the negatives because the positives far outweigh them, like far outweigh them.
There's in Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep, he says that there's something called disappointment panda, which is basically like coming into your life and imagine a panda knocking on your door and saying, hey, I have disappointing news. And what this panda says is that life is problems and we just have to choose the problems. And so if we just get our head around that mind frame, like what problem are we going to choose, and just make an effort to, move our life toward higher and higher quality problems, instead of living under the disillusion that you can find or have a problem, right? And so you're like saying, I'm going to choose the problem of, yeah, I don't get that download. I can't go get totally blasted. But also that means that I'm not choosing the problem of buying a business in a weekend and sending away for motorcycles and, creating destruction in my own life. And so it's really desperate, I think, is just to decide which problems do you want, and understand that life is never meant to be without problems. I think advertisers feed us that lie in order to make us buy things by saying this will solve all the problems, but that's a lie.
Very much. And you believe it, don't you? You believe it because you want to believe it, really.
Yeah.
Is it who doesn't want to drink? Do you know who doesn't want to drink?
So interesting. Well, Lee, this has been just amazing. So let me ask you the question that I ask at the end of these, which is, if you were going to go back in time to when, things were just, you said, lower than underground, and tell yourself about what your life is like now, with the good problem of the 7 grandkids and hiding in the shed, what would you say about what life is like now?
I couldn't imagine kind of how much I could have achieved. Yes, I have achieved a lot, but I think really I could have done so much more. I could have been so much better. I could have been a much better father. I could have been there for my family more. I could have, do you know what I mean? I could have been a better man, a better person. If only, like, it should be part of the national curriculum, like, because schools, seriously, what they teach you in academia is one thing, but some of the most grounded kids I know are from home schools where the parents like take them out and they learn life as an education rather than just academia as an education. And I think learning about pitfalls of drinks and drugs, it should be tackled earlier. It should really be tackled earlier. Because when I was a kid, I didn't even know you had a choice about whether to get off your nut or not. It was just like the done thing. And because the flow was going in that direction, you just had to do it, man. I wasn't aware that there was a choice to make. Society pushed me, and I went. And if there was a flip side to society doing that, education being, now listen, you don't want to do this cause, and giving you all the negatives, but if you do want to do it, there you go. That's what you're going to get. Then maybe I think education at a much younger age need to be instilled. The whole drinking culture thing, it's so ingrained in society, especially in my part of the country, in my part of the world. It needs wheeling out somehow. I don't know how to do it, but it needs doing.
Yeah.
I don't see drink as any better a drug than all the nasties, your cracks and your heroines, and because the girl who posts on Facebook over the moon because she's had 5 bottles of Prosecco in a weekend has done it for the same reason as the guy sat in a one bedroom squat with a needle hanging out his arm because he ain't happy up there. And they think that through that medium, you're going to get removed from that. One's socially acceptable and the other one's dirty, down, disgusting. But fundamentally, for me, there ain't no difference there. There ain't no difference, kid. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, so true. Well said. Well, thank you so much, Lee. This has just been a really fascinating and insightful and way to spend 45 minutes. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and getting to know your story. Thank you so much for coming on.
I just can't believe I've met you. Oh man, absolutely. It's just like, get in. Massive. Such a big day for me, man. Really. I was so nervous.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I really am glad we got to connect in this way. It's just
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. You've changed my life.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you're ready to see how This Naked Mind can help you on your personal health and wellness journey and want to learn more, go to thisnakedmindpodcast.com to learn what your next best step is. Again, that's thisnakedmindpodcast.com. We have all of our free resources, programs, social links, and more available for you there. Plus, if you have your own naked life story to share, you can submit it there as well. Until next week, stay curious.